Hi, I'm Tony Litzter, founder and creator of CureTheCraving.com, where we take people who are stuck in pornography addiction and we liberate them from this plague so that they can tap back into their purpose and live the life that they were destined to live. And I want to welcome you to this video. You're seeing this video because you recently signed up for the free group coaching program, the 9 months of group coaching. And I first want to acknowledge you for being willing to work on this issue in your life. I know when I started to go through this process myself, it took a tremendous amount of courage to admit I had a problem and to reach out for help. And so I want to acknowledge you. It's a great step that you've taken. It's the beginning of a journey that will continue for years to come. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself and a lot about life. And it's just an exciting thing for you to do. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to get the best results from this program. There's some people that get incredible results and some people that get mediocre results. And the difference is the way you show up and participate. So I wanted to make this video to welcome you to the program, give you some ideas on what you can do so that you can actually get the results you're looking for. So I want to show you, kind of drawn this up here. So here's how the program works. The Cure the Craving program, here's what it's broken up into. Every week, we're going to have a call, and this is where you're going to join me on a conference call, and you join anonymously. You just dial in. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to talk. You just get to listen. You join in, and it lasts about an hour. Sometimes I get a little long-winded, so I apologize in advance. It just is what it is. But we're going to join on that call, and we're going to talk about 1 week at a time this process of recovery. And see, this is the issue of overcoming pornography addiction. You have been using sex as a coping tool. You've been using it as a way to deal with stress, with exhaustion, with depression, with loneliness, with pressure, all kinds of things. And so in order to overcome this, it's not something you just do in 1 day or 1 week or 1 month. It's something that you have to learn new coping skills. And this is just how we deal with life. So think about this. My guess is you've been using this as a coping tool for some time, that you've been using sex as a way to shift your emotions. And because it's such a powerful coping tool, it takes time for us to develop new habits. So what we do in the program is once a week, we get on the phone together, and I'm going to teach you some of these habits. I'm going to teach you some of these new coping tools, and we're going to go through processes so that 1 week at a time, you learn a little bit more. 1 week at a time, you dig a little bit deeper into your own recovery process. You get to know yourself a little bit better. I've got some incredible exercises that I'm going to take you through that are going to shift the way that you feel about yourself, the way you relate to yourself. See, I've been teaching personal development trainings for a lot of years, and I've learned what works in the brain to create real change. And I'm going to bring this to these calls on a weekly basis so that 1 week at a time, you're starting to take these steps so that you develop these new habits. Now, you have a choice. You can join us on this call and actually dial in and be there on the call. And a lot of people like to do that. And this is men and women that want to participate in this program. It's not just a guys program. Men and women are welcome. Or if you can't join us, or it doesn't work logistically, or we actually have a lot of people worldwide participating in this. I was looking recently. We've got people in China, I believe in Japan. We've got people in India and Pakistan, and people in Sweden, people in the UK, people in Ireland, people in Spain. We've got people, I'm just thinking about the world map and where it goes. We've got people in, some of the islands, the Caribbean islands. We've got people in Costa Rica. We've got people in Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, US, Canada. People from all over the world are participating. And so sometimes it's not realistic for you to join in on the call, or it would be a long-distance international call. It may not be worth the expense to you. So what we have is the next day after each call, we're going to email you a replay. And this replay is, you can listen to it 2 ways. One, you can just click on a link and listen from your computer if you would like to do that. Or you can download it as an MP3 and upload it to some kind of MP3 player, an iPod or a phone or something, and you can listen to it away from your computer. And we did this so that you can stay with the program no matter where you are. We have a lot of people that travel, and so they're able to participate in the program from the road, from hotels, from wherever they are. And a lot of people internationally that are joining via the replays. And so however that works for you, the key is this. Set aside this time to participate. Now, the way to get the best results on these calls is to be undistracted while you're participating. And I'll be the first to tell you. It's when I'm listening to a conference call or a webinar or something on the internet, I'm really tempted to check my email at the same time. And I'm really tempted to get on Facebook and make a couple posts while someone's listening. And the truth is, when I do that, I'm not really paying attention to the email, and I'm not really paying attention to the training. And so my invitation to you is to have this time completely undistracted. I've got some people like to join on a cell phone, and they'll go for a walk while we go through this process. Now, some of these exercises I'm going to take you through, you're going to have to close your eyes and do some visualization processes and really get into the exercise. So it's important that you're able to pay full attention, and these exercises are not to be done while driving or operating machinery of any type. So do yourself a favor. To get the best results from this program, you actually have to pay attention. If you listen half-heartedly, and if you're trying to multitask while you're doing the program, you probably won't get very good results. And let's be real about this. This is an issue in your life that needs to change. This is an issue that, if you continue, will just bring more and more pain to your life. So do yourself a favor. Figure out a way to participate. Either join us on the call, the replays, or the MP3, or from your computer. We're also going to have a weekly check-in, and this is a 10 to 15-minute little short call that I like to do later in the week after the weekly call. And this check-in call is going to be sort of a condensed version of what we talked about to remind you of the principles that we learned that week and help you implement it, because human nature is we hear something once and we just forget it. We hear it twice, it starts to stick, and once we drive it to the emotions, it actually becomes real in our life. So in this check-in call, we're just going to do a little exercise to help you tap back into whatever principle we learned that week. See, the key to this, because you've used pornography and sex and masturbation as a coping tool, a way to deal with life. And in order to change that, we have to create new habits. And new habits take a lot of repetition. Just like this habit of the pornography addiction, it took a lot of repetition for it to become an addiction. And we need to unprogram that by creating new habits. That's what we're going to do in these weekly calls and check-in calls. In addition, we have what's called the Lifeline Call. And this is a pre-recorded call that you can dial into and listen to 24/7, or if you want, you can download it as an MP3 or listen from your computer, same as the replays. But I did this to help you in the moments when you're having a temptation. Because the reality is even though you want to change this, even though you're taking the steps to get into a recovery process, there's going to be times when you have cravings. And that's just the reality of life. There is no such thing as recovery without cravings. It's just the game. It's the unfortunate reality of our experience that we dabbled with this stuff, and now there's a certain price to be paid. So what the Lifeline Call is a call you can dial into, or you can listen from your computer or download as an MP3 for those moments when you're feeling tempted. And you can dial into it or listen to it, and it takes you through some exercises to shift those emotions. And that's what I want you to be able to do, is to shift it in the moment so that you can make a new choice. See, the key to making new habits is choosing something new in the moment. The cravings are still going to come up. And the way we change this is we create something new. We make a new shift. In addition to this, we're going to have a question and answer session. And this is where I open up the conference lines, and you can ask any question that you want. Nothing's off limits. If you dare to ask it, I'll answer it. And I do this because sometimes in our weekly call, there may be things that come up for you, questions that you have, things that maybe I don't cover in those calls. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to get your questions answered along the way as you're going through this journey. And we try to do this monthly. We'll pick a day and I'll email you and you can watch this. Now, this program, everything in the program, all the tools, all the processes, everything we do is all digital. We don't mail you anything. And we do this to keep the cost down. And we also do this because most people want to remain anonymous in recovery. I totally get it. That's why we designed it this way, so that you can remain completely anonymous and be able to participate in the program. So everything's going to be digital. We're going to email you every week. So whatever email address you signed up with, you're going to need to check that email on a regular basis, because we're going to be emailing you the information and obviously email you the videos and the different things that we're doing, the call reminders, the check-in reminders, the access to the Lifeline Call. Whenever we have a Q&A, we'll give you the access to those calls. All of these things happen via email, and so you need to do that. Now, This program, we used to charge $297 for it, for what you're seeing right here. And what we found is that there are a lot of people worldwide that wanted to get help. And I was kind of surprised about this, that they wanted to get help. And so we did this so that we wanted people to be able to participate from anywhere. And so this portion of the program is now actually free. So everything that we just talked about is going to be free, and you can participate for those 9 months in doing this. So I hope that gives you a little bit of overview of what to expect and kind of how to prepare for the program. I want to talk to you in this video about the 4 steps that I have experienced in my own life and with the thousands of people that I've worked with, the 4 steps in overcoming this addiction. And the place that you're going to get to in this journey is you're going to be able to quit looking at porn. That's really the goal that we're looking for, and be able to feel great about yourself. One of the challenges that comes with porn is the shame. And so it's not just a matter of eliminating porn from our life, it's eliminating the shame that comes with it and taking us to a place where we don't have to hide from this. You don't have to make yourself wrong for having sexual feelings. I mean, it's just such a reality of life that, we're sexual beings. It's the way we were created. It's the way we are on the planet. And there's better ways of channeling that sexual energy, and then there's less effective ways. And I think pornography is a less effective way because it leaves us feeling down. It leaves us feeling shameful. So part of this process, this place you're going to get to, is a place where you don't have this shame, and you can eliminate this porn from your life. You're going to get to a place where you have less cravings. And a lot of the processes that I'm going to take you through in this program are going to teach you tools to decrease your cravings. Now, I didn't say that you're going to have no cravings. As I started, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but as I started my recovery process, I thought I had this sort of imaginary place I thought I would get to where I no longer had any sexual feelings. I no longer had any impulsive feelings. I never had any desire to look at porn. I never saw another woman besides my wife and was turned on. That's not reality. That's not the world that we live in. And so this conversation of recovery is a reality-based conversation. And there will be times when we deal with cravings. And what this process and this program and the 9 months of calls are going to teach you about is tools that you can use when those moments come up. You're going to learn to take that sexual energy, because it doesn't just go away. We got to do something with it. And we're going to learn to channel it in positive ways. Learn to use it as a creative force in our life instead of a destructive force in our life. And we'll talk about that. You're going to find deeper levels of satisfaction just in general in life. Because as we take, this porn thing has been this coping tool that does a really good job at shifting your emotions fast, but it always leaves you empty and always leaves you wanting. And so what we're going to do is find new coping tools that actually meet your needs in a healthy way and leave you feeling deeply satisfied. In your personal relationships, you're going to learn how to connect in a much more powerful way, in a much more authentic way, because we're going to eliminate that shame. And we're going to get you to a place where you can have a high level of self-acceptance. And this whole process of recovery actually becomes a gift in your life. That it's not something you have to hide from. It's not something you have to shame yourself from, or that you have to even, at least in my life, I feel really liberated to be in a place where I can just be real and say, look, I'm a guy, and I've had sexual feelings since I can remember. And sometimes I've channeled these in healthy ways, and sometimes I haven't. And I'm at a place where I just accept myself with all the mixed up, messed up ideas that I've got and the imperfections that I have. And when you get to a place where you can accept yourself like that, this compulsive game does not run you anymore. And if it comes up, you can identify it for what it is. You can go, oh, okay, there's some cravings. That must be a signal to me that I'm out of balance, or I need to eat some good food, or I need some rest, or I need some connection. There's all these different things we learn from those cravings. And so that's where you're going to be able to get to. Now, I can tell you this because I've walked this path. When I was in grade school when I first was exposed to pornography, and it seemed like it was pretty prevalent with, my friends, and it just kind of lit a fire. Got really involved in it as a teenager. It was the most effective coping tool that I could find, but I was really depressed in it. It was never satisfying. I always left wanting. And I got to this place in my life where when I was about 16, I had some spiritual experiences and I made some changes in my life, and so I quit looking at porn. Among a lot of the other things that I quit doing, made a big change in my friends, and fortunately I did that. Most of those guys are in jail now, and I'm grateful that I made those changes back then. But what was interesting was, even though I stopped engaging in the behavior, I started noticing that the cravings came back. And I remember as a college student, I hadn't looked at porn in years. And this was kind of pre-internet days, so it wasn't as available. It's a little bit harder. You had to actually seek it out and go after and find the porn. But I got to this. I remember when I would walk between classes on campus, it was terrible. It was like it haunted me. It was like I could hear this, almost like this ringing in my ears, to go back and look at porn. It just haunted me, and I couldn't do anything to shake it, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember I went and I was desperate because I started watching myself relapse. You probably know what I'm talking about. I call it the BS box. It's this little box we walk around in our recovery process where we pretend we're not acting out. We pretend we're not engaging in viewing porn, but to us it's porn. So I started finding myself looking at like swimsuit ads and looking at things that I could excuse and be like, oh, it's no big deal. But to me, I was totally relapsing, and I went to this therapist because I'm like, man, I got to talk to somebody about this. This is crazy. And I sat down with this guy and I said, listen, I'm going nuts here. I need to talk about this. I'm having cravings to look at porn. I don't know what to do about it. And he goes, well, how long's it been? And I said, I don't know. It'd probably been 6 years at that time. And he said, he goes, well, looks like you're doing pretty good, buddy. And he patted me on the back and sent me on my way. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, is that all that's available? And I was at this place where I was so mad at God for the fact that I got exposed to this as a kid. I was so mad because I hated it, and I hated myself, and I didn't know how to share it with anyone or talk to anyone about it. And it started me on this journey of searching for answers, searching for solutions. At that point, I was married, and I thought, oh, I'll get married, I can have sex as much as I want, it's going to take care of it. But for those of you that are married, it's a totally different emotion to be in a married sexual relationship than to have the drug-like experience of porn. And again, it was haunting me, and I started on this journey of experiencing it. And through many relapses and many learning experiences, I started to learn tools that actually worked in my life. And then I started to share these tools with other people. And my career has been, for the last several years, in personal development. I've done personal development trainings and coaching and speaking on stages, and I've studied the brain. I've studied change in the brain and what is effective. Most of my clients hired me on a per project basis, and if I didn't get them results, I didn't get paid. So I had to learn what really worked. And I found that a lot of the stuff in the traditional therapy or traditional approach that I've seen didn't do any good for me. It was a waste of time and money. But I did find tools that actually worked. And I got to this place where I could go 3 months without looking at porn, and then I could go 6 months without looking. I remember I went 8 months, and I started to celebrate, and I was like, yeah, I'm over this, and then I relapsed. And then I went a year, and then I relapsed, and then I was able to go a couple of years. Now, through this process, I've learned how to channel these emotions and how to be in a place where I haven't looked at porn for years, and I really quit counting because it did me no good. Because the truth is this: all that matters is today in your recovery. Doesn't matter if you haven't looked for years. All that matters is where are you today, and are you taking care of your emotional needs in a healthy way today and dealing with the cravings that show up. And as you do that, and as you learn that process one day at a time, then you begin to develop habits where you no longer need the porn. And when it comes up as something that's kind of appealing, because it will sometimes, you've got tools to shift those emotions. And I was able to start to share this with people, and I was amazed at how many of the people that I worked with had issues with pornography. It is so much more prevalent than even, I mean, I knew it was prevalent. I knew a lot of people had a problem with it, but I had no idea. The percentages are absolutely unbelievable. And in this journey, one day, I was doing a lot of soul searching and meditating and praying, and I got the answer to make this program. And initially, I didn't want to tell this story. I'm like, I can't talk about porn and masturbation and all this other stuff. You know, my ego came in, and I got to start to see some people close to me that were really struggling, and that by sharing this, I could either stay in hiding and pretend I never had a problem with it, or I could share it and create some change in their life. And so since that time, we have been able to help thousands of people all over the planet. And I'm honored that you have taken this journey with me. And I'm hoping in the things that I share with you, it's the process that I've been able to go through, and the thousands of people that have gone through this program have been able to go through to get to this place where they're free from this terrible plague. And this is the journey that I invite you to participate in. This is interesting. It's there's this aspect of being over this issue where some people think that they quit being a guy. Well, I can only speak from a guy. I know women are sexual as well. But from the standpoint of going, look, yeah, you can get over this, but you're not going to stop being a guy. People aren't going to stop being beautiful. You're not going to stop having sexual feelings. You just get to a place where you can manage these in healthy ways. Now, there's some people that are going to watch, that they're going to have a dilemma as you watch this. Maybe this is you. Because they're going to watch this video and they're going to go, okay, on the one hand, I hate this addiction. I hate it. I wish I never had to experience it. And on the other hand, they go, yeah, but life would suck if I didn't have this addiction. And so they look at it in terms of all or nothing. They go, okay, I can keep this addiction, and I hate it, or I have to eliminate it, and then I don't know how I'm going to cope with life. And so what I want to invite you to do, because there's a conflict if you learn the solution, then you may have to actually do the solution. But what if something better was available? A deeper level of satisfaction, better ways to communicate without shame. You owe it to yourself to find this out and to learn these steps. And then if you don't like them, you can always go back to what you were doing before. So I want to talk to you about the 4 steps of overcoming this process that I found. And you ought to write these down. Number 1 is the body. Number 2 is the mind. Number 3 is the spirit. And number 4 is stress management. Body, mind, spirit, stress management. And I'll talk about these briefly in this video. I'm going to create some other videos where I go into depth on each of these areas so that you really have the roadmap and you go, okay, in my body, this is what I got to do. In my mind, this is what I got to do. My spirit, this is what I got to do. And stress management habits, these are what I need to create. But we need to start with our body, because you can start with saying mentally, yeah, I'd like to get over this. I want to stop. Or, maybe someone shamed you and you think, oh, I got to stop this behavior. The problem is our body gets chemically addicted to the chemicals that we get when we look at porn. Some of the brain studies say that it releases things like serotonin and dopamine and adrenaline and norepinephrine. And these chemicals are 100 times stronger than heroin. I don't know if you have ever been with someone that's used heroin. I have. And I've watched the destructive force of that in their life and how hard it is to quit. But these brain chemicals are even harder. My friend that had the heroin addiction told me that it was harder for him to quit pornography than it was to quit heroin. So we're dealing with a very real chemical addiction in our body. So we can't just either shame someone or put some rules in place or just take away the behavior. We have to learn how to replace those behaviors in the body. So we look at the physical body as just an organism, right? It's full of organs. It requires the basic building blocks in order to move and breathe and thrive. And so we have to take a look at how are we feeding our body, and are we setting ourselves up for cravings? One of the things that blew me away as I went through this process was that I didn't know I was setting myself up for cravings by the way I treated my body. I was pounding the caffeine. I was pounding tons of sugar. I was not resting very well. I wasn't exercising and moving my body. So there's all these aspects of our physical body that unless we can get them in alignment with natural law, we will have cravings. And then when we get our body in alignment with natural law, we eat, we rest, we move it, right? We take care of our physical body, and we learn to slow it down. We have much less cravings. So this is really where it begins, is in our physical body. And we're going to talk about this throughout the free calls that you're going to participate in. We're going to talk about all these different steps that will help you and give you the tools and able to do this. But you really have to look at your body. If you want to continue with an out-of-balance lifestyle, and if you want to continue bombarding your body with really bad food, then you're going to continue to have cravings. It's just the reality of it. And so it's part of the process, learning to get our body in alignment with the way nature intended it to be. And so that's that first step. Once we've got our body in alignment, we can start to take a look at our mind. And see, one of the challenges with pornography, and think about this if this sounds familiar. I used to look in the mirror after, relapsing, and I would be like, you are the biggest piece of shit on the planet. I was so mean to myself. I would say awful things to myself. And I would say, if anyone knew how you really were, they wouldn't be able to accept you, and they wouldn't love you, and they'd reject you and throw you out. I mean, I would just be like, I look in the mirror and just be like, you dirtbag. I said the worst things to myself. And so part of this process of recovering is to break that shame cycle and to replace those shameful thoughts with positive beliefs and true beliefs about who we are, and get our mind in alignment with natural law, which includes our inner dialogue, shame and eliminating shame. It includes learning to quiet our mind through meditation and be able to begin to think in ways and to have a vision of the things that we want to create rather than envisioning the things we don't want to experience. And in these calls, we're going to talk about this process of steps you can take within your mind. I've got some tools that I'll talk about later that can powerfully reprogram that inner dialogue and help you to break that shame cycle. Because if you don't break, you could get your body all in alignment. You could follow all those natural laws, but if your thought process is destructive, you'll go back to the addiction, right? So we take care of our body, we take care of our mind, and then it's the process of taking a look at our spirit. Now, in this program, we welcome people of all different faiths. I got an email recently from a guy who's atheist. He said, can I participate in this program? Do I need to have spiritual beliefs? No, you don't need to have spiritual beliefs. When we talk about spirit, I want you to apply whatever your beliefs are about the universe, about God, about religion, whatever that is. Apply the true principles to whatever your faith is and let it build your faith. But from the standpoint of we all have an inner world. We have the inner workings. We have our feelings. We have our emotions. And when we can learn to get our spirit, our inner world, in alignment with natural law, which you're going to hear me talk about a lot, when you can do that and you can slow things down inside and you can learn to process the chatter and the stress through powerful tools that I will teach you in this program, you can get to a place where you have quiet inside you. Now, for some of you, this is going to include spending time in nature and becoming very still. It may include time in meditation. It may include time in prayer. It may include time in worship or study. Whatever that is for you, that we honor this space within us. And it's from that space of that stillness that we begin to have deep inner satisfaction. And then the porn isn't as appealing as it used to be. See, porn's only appealing when our life's all jacked up and we feel like crap and we hate ourselves and we feel hungry and empty and horny and like we can't ever get enough of the fix. When we feel good within, we take care of our physical body, when we've eliminated all that terrible shame talk, when spiritually we've gotten still within our body and had connection with our Creator, if it's something we seek, or just stillness, if that's what we seek, suddenly we have an experience of life as being satisfying. And then porn isn't as interesting. And that's what we want to get to, is we want to replace the chemicals that we got from porn with ways to get it in healthy ways. And these are the tools I'm going to teach you in this program. Once we've done that, it's not enough. Because in order to overcome this long term, which is what we want to do, we have to then take step 4, which is stress management. And I'll talk about this a lot in the calls, a lot of the trainings, but what happens is on a daily basis, our nervous system gets wound up with stress. We get stress from our environment, we get tired, we get food stress, we get noise stress, all these things. And it winds us up really tight. And when we have a lot of stress, our brain craves adrenaline. It's our brain's natural way of releasing that stress. And porn is a great adrenaline release. And so we have to look at that stress because it's going to happen. We can't eliminate stress. What we can do is we can unwind it. We can manage stress. And taking a look at habits in our life that have been proven in the brain studies to actually unravel the stress so that you don't get overloaded and then your brain doesn't crave the escape anymore. It becomes a way of being on a daily basis. We have habits, because we've intentionally created them as habits, to unravel that stress. And it allows us to then continue this peaceful way of living as a way of life. And it allows us to then tap into our purpose and our clarity because we eliminate all that shame. All of a sudden we go, yeah, I can do this. I have a vision of what I want to create in my life, and I can go and do that thing instead of beating ourselves up. So these are the 4 steps. Now, at this point, when I talk to you about the journey of these 4 steps, I'm sure there's some of you that say, look, I've already tried everything else. I have tried to quit in so many ways. I've tried programs. I've joined the internet programs. I've joined the group programs. I've done this. I've read the books. I've gone to therapy. I've talked to people. I've had accountability partners. I've tried internet filters. I've done all these things, and none of it worked. So why should I believe that this is going to work? But I totally get where you're coming from. I know that there was a point in my life when I was in this. It was this place of just where I was like, man, is this ever going to change? Can I ever change this? Can I ever get to a place where this just doesn't rule my life? And I tried so many times, and then I'd go back to it after I'd swore I'd never go back, and then I'd go back and I'd feel like crap again and be like, how did I do that again? So I get it. I get where you're coming from. My invitation to you is to at least give this a try. Porn has been your primary coping tool. It's been the way that you've dealt with stress, we talked about this, anxiety, with loneliness, with hunger, with boredom. It's been your primary coping tool. And so to just take it away, which is what a lot of other programs teach, they'll say, just stop. It doesn't work that way. We got to replace this. And that's why we do this program over an extended period of time. You keep joining us. I don't care if you just got done looking at porn. Get on the calls. Join us every week, because each week you're taking a step forward. You're learning a new tool. You're reinforcing the new beliefs. And you're moving into this place where you no longer use porn. And so it's an ongoing journey. When you can give your body what it needs and you eliminate the shame and you can tap into your spirit, and this becomes a way of being as your habits, you experience life in a way that you haven't before. My guess is you have used the tools that you have, that you've had up until this moment. If you had other tools, you would have used them. Well, I'm going to teach you some new tools. I'm going to teach you ways that you haven't used before and that will help you in this process. If this doesn't work for you, then you can always go back to the way you were before, right? I mean, there's no loss here. You're investing in yourself. And whatever investment you make in yourself pays big dividends down the road. It's worth going through this process. Now, there's some of you that only try to change during the moment of temptation. You know what I'm talking about? I did this for a long time. I would go along, oh, no, I'm fine. I don't have a problem with this. I don't look at porn. I'm good to go. And the only time I would address my issues was when I was like in front of the computer and having like cravings and impulses, and my brain would shut down, and I'd just be like, That was the only time I tried to address this problem. My invitation to you is that you begin to address it throughout all the areas of your life, so that you can get to a place where that moment in front of the computer happens less often. So I want you to take a moment and consider the sense of power that you will experience in your life if you can really get to a place where you can manage this and it doesn't run you anymore. Isn't that place worth at least working for? I'm going to tell you in my own life, the sense of freedom and liberation is unbelievable. Now, does that mean I'm never tempted? Of course not. I'm still a guy. I still have those tendencies. I still have to check myself periodically. And I can do it, and there's no shame around it. And it's liberated me. Now I can just be a human being with, all the mixed up beliefs instead of having to try to be perfect and never live up to it. There's an incredible sense of power. Consider what it will feel like to be able to look in the mirror and really like what you see looking back. To appreciate yourself and the journey you've been through. That's the place that we want to get you to find better ways to deal with stress and develop new habits, and to have a lot of compassion for yourself. So here's what I want to invite you to do at the end of this video. Take a little bit of time and look into, I want you to pay attention so you start to notice your own patterns here. Because a lot of this recovery process is getting real with your own patterns and getting honest with your own patterns. So take a look at, when are the times that you feel the most tempted? And when are the times when you feel the least tempted? So consider that. There's certain times where it's just like almost impossible to resist it, not to give in. And there's other times where it's fine. It's like no big deal. Take a look at the variables and start to notice what's going on in your body, your mind, your spirit, and with your stress in those different times. Because you start to see signals for you in how you've been running yourself. I want you also to identify these common themes and then look at how you've used sex to cope with the uncomfortable emotions in your life. That you've been using some form of a sexual release, some form of arousal, something in order to cope with your life. So just at the end of this video, do a little bit of inventory so you start to look within yourself and notice your own patterns. And this is really the beginning step of the recovery process. In the next video that I create, we're going to talk about some of the myths and some of the lies of recovery that people have told you or that people are out there promoting in the market, and how to actually, get past these myths and lies and take real steps of recovery. So I invite you to chime in below on this video and let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next video that I create. Bye-bye.